Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports Talk back at another video today. And breaking news, a little late on this. I wish I would have been on time with this. But Kyrie Irving is heading to the Dallas Mavericks. Nothing surprising here. I think, I don't know how other people feel about this, but I think maybe some other people could be surprised on who got him. I think the Mavericks, they were definitely a team who I thought that would be the second place I could see Kyrie going. I thought he was going to the Lakers. Definitely, there was a report that the Clippers were trying to bring him in. They tried, they weren't able to do it. Ty Lue wanted to reunite with Kyrie Irving. So did LeBron. Battle of LA between LeBron and Ty Lue. But I mean, ultimately, Luka won the battle. I mean, let's give some props to the Mavs organization, Mark Cuban and their GM. I mean, Luka. It sounded like if they didn't do it, he was gonna request a trade or anything. But he said, "I need help. I need a star next to me." And I know it's hard to trade for somebody who's on a 1-year deal. And trust me, I think Kyrie is personally. I think that as it's announced that Kyrie will make his debut against the team that really wanted him in the Clippers on Wednesday. So that's when he'll be making his debut, is on Wednesday. But, just me personally, I think the Mavs have a strong chance to re-sign Kyrie in free agency. With everything with having Luka, I definitely think they do have a strong chance to re-sign Kyrie Irving. And, I mean, yeah, so it's just a great addition for their team to give Luka some help. It's a little tough, though, because you're giving up a good player in Spencer Dinwiddie. Spencer Dinwiddie is returning to Brooklyn, guys. I mean, having a great season. I think he's averaging like 18 or 20 or something like that. He's having a great year, and he's going back to Brooklyn to play with KD. I don't know how I feel about this. I mean, I love Dinwiddie. I think he's a great player. It's going to be weird to see him back in Brooklyn after, a couple years now, but we'll see him back in Brooklyn pretty soon. Also, that is not the only player heading to Brooklyn, is also Dorian Finney-Smith. I know it's hard to give up two players on get an expiring contract for two players and plus picks for someone who's on an expiring contract, but thank God that the Mavs got rid of Dorian Finney-Smith. I like Finney-Smith. He had a great season a couple seasons before this, but he's been awful this season. I mean, he's averaging 8.5, but he's shooting bad. He just hasn't been the same player he has been. Wish him the best in Brooklyn. He'll probably come off the bench, do some decent stuff off the bench there. I think the main thing for Brooklyn in this trade is getting Dinwiddie and getting him back. I think definitely Dinwiddie was very respected in Brooklyn. So now Dinwiddie will return to Brooklyn as their starting point guard. Also, the Nets have received 2 second-round picks plus a 2029 first-round pick. I like for the Nets to get a first-round pick. I mean, they're low on first-round picks after, doing the trade with the Rockets for trading for James Harden. And they're really a team that can't go in a rebuild. They cannot go into a rebuild. And they cannot go into a rebuild because of the amount of first-round picks they have. So personally, I think you might have to trade KD this offseason just because of the way you're looking at with first-round picks. Like, for instance, if a team like Minnesota, they're not gonna, but if Minnesota wanted to rebuild, they'd be screwed because they traded all their first-round picks to Utah in that Rudy Gobert trade. So I mean, yeah. So I think if the Nets want to rebuild, which I don't think the Nets are going to want to rebuild, because think about this, the Nets for years were rebuilding. They were rebuilding for years. And because that Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett trade with Boston really hurt their franchise. And they had to work up for years, maybe 5 or more years, to get back to a good, stable place before Kyrie and KD joined there, right? And I just think that they're not going to want to go into rebuild again. You got the same GM and everything that, were there when they got back to the top, when they made the playoffs after having to go through a long, really tough rebuild. I don't see the Nets rebuilding. I see the Reds. The Reds. I see the Nets going on a sort of a reload where you'll get rid of KD, get Kyrie, add in some players, reload the team, get it better, get some first round picks, get some assets, and reload your team. Rebuild and reloads are way different. Rebuilds take time, and that's exactly what the Nets had to do a couple years before. In was that the 2018-19 season or 17-18 season where it was the 18-19 season. They finally got back in the playoffs. D'Angelo Russell and Spencer Dinwiddie. Funny that Spencer Dinwiddie and D'Angelo Russell and a couple other players were playing good basketball that got them in the playoffs. And I just think that the Nets aren't going to rebuild, but I think they will reload and try to get some players in. And KD's not going to want to stay. I think KD will be willing to stay the rest of the season, but KD will not be willing to stay after this season. I think you'll be lucky if you get KD to stay the rest of the season, yet alone the future after that. So, yeah, but great trade for the Mavericks as they receive Kyrie Irving for Spencer Dinwiddie and Dorian Finney-Smith, a 2029 first-round pick, and 2 future second-round picks. I like it for Brooklyn a little bit with receiving Dinwiddie and Finney-Smith in the first-round pick. I mean, I'm not going to say it's bad for the Nets because Kyrie, he's an expiring contract. He's going to leave. Honestly, to be honest with you guys, I don't think it's a bad trade for the Nets because you're getting 2 players who are on contract plus 3 picks for a player who was going to leave you anyways, who told you, if you do not trade me, I'm going to sit out the rest of the season. And if you don't trade me, I'm going to leave you in free agency. So for a player who was, basically like, fuck you, I'm out of here, I think the Nets did pretty good with this. Got a first-round pick, which they need desperately. Dinwiddie, I think Dinwiddie will be good in Brooklyn again. So I like it for Brooklyn. I think that it sucks to get rid of Kyrie, but because he's such a good player, but he was going to leave you anyways. So great. I think it was a good trade I think it was a good trade for the Nets, but mainly for the Mavs is that they're the winner in this trade. Even if Kyrie leaves them in free agency, I still think they're the winner in this trade. Probably not. It would depend on how the Mavs had success in the playoffs. But honestly, with this trade going down now, I think the Mavs have to be the favorite to come out of the West. I think if the Grizzlies add in some defense, like if I'm the Grizzlies now, who are probably the Mavs' best competitor, if I'm the Grizzlies now, I gotta be aggressive to go after someone like OG Anunoby to help in with defense with dealing with Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving in the playoffs to up your game. So if I'm the Grizzlies, I don't know if the Nuggets. Definitely the Nuggets are going to trade Bones Highland, but if I'm the Grizzlies or the Nuggets, those are the 2 most competing teams against the Mavs right now, or the Clippers, either 3 of those teams. If I'm one of those teams with this Kyrie move, whether the Clippers, Grizzlies, or Nuggets, I make a trade or 2 if I'm one of those teams. I think it's easier for the Clippers because they have Kawhi, they have Paul George. I make 1 trade if I'm them. And then Grizzlies, you make 1, but you got to make it a big one, like someone like Bogdanovich or OG Anunoby. And then with the Nuggets, I don't think they're going to do anything big. I think they're just going to trade like guys like Bones Highland or Ish Smith and maybe some seconds. Who knows? So I think, other teams have to think about what else they're going to do in the deadline. Top teams in the West that are facing up against the Mavericks. You got the Grizzlies, the Clippers, the Nuggets, those teams that are really trying to fight for the West against the Mavericks now. I think those are the 4 scariest teams in the West now. Obviously, you got Dallas in there, you got Memphis, you got Denver. Denver's scary because Denver, they're going to be home. I mean, honestly, even how I think good Dallas will be in the regular season with Kyrie and Luka, I mean, I still think the Nuggets are going to finish with the number 1 record in the West. So in that case, it's hard to play Denver in the playoffs in the Mile High. So we'll see what happens, and you guys let me know your thoughts on the trade and the video, and it's going to be interesting to see Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic play with each other for real. I mean, I'm fine. I'm super glad that they finally got Luka some help. That man did deserve some help down there in Dallas. First trade of the I wouldn't say first trade of the deadline because we had Rui Hachimura go to the Lakers a couple weeks ago, but it feels like this is deadline time because, I mean, that was weeks before the deadline, the Hachimura trade. This is actual deadline. We're days before the deadline. Deadline's Thursday. Today's Sunday, so we're days before the deadline. You guys let me know your thoughts on the trade, and that's for the video. Hope you guys enjoyed, and peace out.